Hi. A year ago, I mentioned Edonor, the Argentinian electric utility, symbol EDN, as worthy of your sleuthing attention. The stock was then at $3 and change. The stock has been rising ever since and has more than doubled to $7.50 today. I got some inquiries. Do you know what's going on? My answer is yes, maybe. However, anyone who has done the sleuthing shouldn't be asking this question. He or she should know. And if he doesn't know, he shouldn't be in the stock. As I've been trying to tell anyone who watches this channel over the last 2 years, never, ever buy any stock, unless you have sleuthed it yourself. But then usually comes the question, sleuth how? Where? Well, buy my book and see the method yourself. But let me be a bit more helpful here and compare sleuthing to police work. Can you imagine a detective recommending to prosecute, equivalent to a buy decision, just based on what stranger we have never met told him on the internet? Really? Without first having seen the scene of the crime himself? Or meeting the suspect? Or looking the witnesses in the eye? But I can hear you say again, this stock is in Argentina. How can I sleuth the stock there? My answer is, if you can't figure it out, then don't buy it. Yet again, to be helpful, let me say that, like a policeman, you can't just rely on documents by strangers. That's the internet for you. What you need is reliable informers. But how can you get them in this case? The first step would be to find out experts about the electricity market in Argentina. And to do that, first find out local experts, say electrical engineers who know about electric generation and distribution in general. Perhaps in your local utility, find who's the experts there and chat them up. Ask them what to look for. What's key? Write it down. And at the end of the chat, ask them, by the way, do you know anyone in Argentine utility? Perhaps met them in a conference? What's their name? Can I call them up? The second step, since Edonor is not a producer of electricity, but a distributor, look at who is the regulator in Argentina. Look who runs it, who appointed them, their work history, anyone that you can call. You can't speak Spanish? Well, find a friend who can. Then third, look at Edonor itself. Read all its filings. Look at anything printed about the company. Much of this will be in Spanish. So what? Translate it to English or whatever other language you're comfortable with Google Translate. It's for free. Read it all. Write down questions you may have. You may go back now to your informer in the local utility. Can they give you answers in general or specifically? And after you've done all this, you should know you only have done maybe 5% of the work, the tip of the preparation. Yes, it's only preparation, because none of what you have done up to now, except calling your local contact, is exclusive to you. It's time-consuming, yes, but it's the easy part anyone can do from the comfort of his home while sipping coffee. These so-called investors are the one whose money you want to take. And if you want to take their money, you have to do the important sleuthing part, which they don't do. Talking to informers, real people who actually know firsthand about the business, the market, the politics, and hopefully the company itself. Like whom? Come on. Imagine yourself a policeman. Who would you call? Yes, to be fair, when a policeman calls, people usually tell him stuff. But why should they talk to you? Well, start with those who would talk. Look at the Argentinian newspapers and find names of business reporters who may have written about the company. Call them up. Or call the PR people at the company itself, the regulators' PR people, or any other people there. You'll find their names on the internet. That's what the internet is good for, not for decision-making information. For this, you want to talk to actual, physical, live people. Yes, people you've never met before. And be ready to be rebuffed and try again and again. You don't like it, so don't invest. Because if you do invest based only on internet blips known to everyone, you have no edge. And then sleuths like me who do the work will take your money. Now, I'm sorry if the above makes you uncomfortable, but it's true. You must sleuth companies yourself, physically, if you want to make multiples on your money and not lose it. Because to make multiples of gain, the key question behind what's going on with the company or with the stock is when to sell it. There's no way you can answer this key question unless you know more than others do. And I won't tell you. I only teach you sleuthing method with explanation, with examples. As for Edonor itself, yes, it doubled. As for how much higher it can go, like the great Wall Street speculator once said, I made my money not in the buying, nor in the selling, but in the sitting. That is, waiting until the good pick matured over time and became a multibagger and resisting in the urge to sell on the way. And this you can only do by first doing the actual sleuthing. But again, I can hear you saying, it's a lot of work, all this calling around and talking to strangers and being rebuffed and learning about the electricity market in a foreign land. Is it really worth the trouble? Let's see. Say in theory that Edonor gets back to its previous peak. I'm saying if. Still, it's not a heroic assumption. I'm not assuming it will surpass it. We are just talking getting back to the top of the previous cycle, which it has done before, in cycles before that, and even surpassed it. The last peak was $63 a share. That's 9 times the current price of 7. 9 times. And that's already after a double in 1 year. Remember, this 9 times is in theory, just an exercise. Still, speaking hypothetically, if you put 30 grand in the stock, say, just pick a number, and everything comes up roses. Then your 30 grand can turn into 270. That's 240 grand gain in 3 to 5 years over the initial 30. It's almost $250,000. Nice. Sure is. Well, how much work calling strangers, taking rebuffs, corralling a Spanish-speaking friend with an MBA to call on your behalf? How much of this would you do for $250,000? I do a lot. Wouldn't you? Of course, you could also lose your 30 grand, hypothetical, if the stock goes to zero. Or is a zero a bit too low here for utility of a capital city? Maybe a bit more than zero? Still is there. But how to find out? You got it. You have to do the actual sleuthing work yourself. Groucho Marx, the comedian, once said he did not want to be a member of a club that would accept him as a member. Similarly, never invest in a stock based only on information that the internet gives you freely. Never ever. If you do, I and other sleuths who do the work will take your money. You have to generate some of this real information yourself, preferably by talking to people you've never talked to before. Talk how? Well, it's like picking up girls in a party, or boys, if that's your preference. You must talk to them when they are still strangers. Sure, you can be rebuffed, but if you don't talk to them, you may never beg a multibagger. If you do, you might. Maybe. So I can again hear you asking, which is it the case here? This stranger called Edonor, a multibagger or a dud? One last time, I won't tell you. You have to do the sleuthing work yourself. That's all for today. Let me know below what you think of my exhortation for you to do the actual work. And if you like the clip, give it a like and subscribe. And tell your friends so they subscribe too. I'll see you next time. And meantime, thank you very much for watching.